Welcome to the second half of my presentation on the Linwood Park shoreline. Much has been done in the last actually 40 to 50 years, and I'll try to tell that story as quickly as I can next. The detached break wall that was placed across the mouth of the Vermilion River greatly disrupted the distribution of sand across our shoreline because the natural flow of the river headed from its mouth eastward across Linwood. Our beach never was able to recover from the damage done in June of 1972 by the Hurricane Agnes spin-off storms because the detached break wall changed the flow of materials that we would have normally received back. Without a deep sandy beach to protect our property, Park Company President Bob Shahale feared erosion might someday breach the city's sanitary sewer line that ran across the top of our bluff. He did his own research and then pressed the mayor and Corps of Engineers in 1978 to initiate a Section 14 Public Works Protection project. These letters are worth reading. Cottage owners like George Grossman badgered the Corps to correct the problems created by the offshore structure across the mouth of the Vermilion River. The Coast Guard worried that they could not get their icebreaker into the new Vermilion Harbor, but no changes ever occurred. With lower lake levels in 1982, we had a wide, flat beach. This view looks westward. This 1982 photo is looking eastward in front of the Ash Street steps. I hope my nieces aren't feeding the seagulls, or sand rats as I like to call them. They follow the beach, they always bring more friends, and they never pay gate fees. In 1985, lake levels climbed very quickly, and our low, flat beach could no longer protect our shoreline or our bluff from the wave action. Trees and property began falling into the lake. High 1985 water levels exposed the sandbags that Dr. George Keidel, Superintendent Don Wilson, and other cottage owners quickly filled during the Agnes spin-off storms back in 1972. A brutal winter in 1985 and 86 tore into the bluff. Here the Ash Street steps are out over the lake. Due to his wife's failing health, Company President Bob Shahale surrendered all his executive responsibilities with the park company to a new president, Bill Blackie. Ted Blake remained as vice president. Bob Shahale, however, did encourage Vice President Ted Blake to push hard on the Section 14 Public Works Protection Program with the Corps of Engineers. Here's an example of Ted's letter to everyone saying, "We need help." Another company director, Al Gilchrist, placed a series of stakes above the city's sanitary sewer line and measured our loss of property into the lake weekly, then sent those reports to the Army Corps of Engineers to prod them along. The park company directors knew that their lease agreement with the cottage owners prohibited them from assessing any fees for shoreline protection work or beach improvement. This limited their ability to consider outside help. In April of 1986, led by cottage owners Reverend Paul Balliett, Fred Galovich, Bob Schock, the Waltons, and many others, the cottage owners stepped up with their own capital improvement campaign to finance erosion control. With phone numbers crossed out, you've been looking at signature testaments of support to protect our property from erosion and our shoreline from a sanitary sewer break. The park company approved the cottage owner's selection of Campbell's modules as a quick deployment system and authorized the securing of all required permits to have them placed in the lake. To buy time, the park company spent $6,700 to repair the Ash Street steps and install a rock revetment of our own between Walnut and Linden Street, where sewer damage was most likely to occur. Just beyond the steps looking westward, you can see how the bluff was being undercut by wave action. To secure financing and a bank loan, some cottage owners pledged personal property to Key Bank so that other cottage owners could pay their pledges in installments. Once money and permits were secure, Herb Campbell rode in like the cavalry with his 28,000-pound modules. The modules were staged along our shoreline from the Nokomis line westward towards Linden Street. They were then placed out in the water in a tight pen configuration with every fourth module turned so that water that came over them could flow back out to the lake. This first rapid deployment configuration enabled the modules to knock the bottoms out of the waves that were attacking the most vulnerable point along our eastern bluff. Knowing that the 56 modules installed by the cottage owners worked, the park company then bought an additional 36 modules, invited Herb Campbell back into the park in October of '87 to reconfigure everything. The Section 14 Public Works Protection Program was all go in 1989. A fortress revetment was built against our eastern bluff, and the sanitary sewer in the middle of the park was relocated south away from the lake. We reconfigured our module pattern in 1994, but high water in 1998 found them too low to hold back trash coming in from our eastern flank. A higher rock rubble L-shaped groin was then added between Linwood and the Nokomis. In 2004, the modules were used as the base of a detached breakwater across from Maple Street on our eastern shoreline. Some modules have been buried and used as tiebacks and could be available for redeployment. This brings us now to today, May 2019, where Lake Erie is at her highest recorded levels ever, but we're holding the line with the exception of a few weak points in the middle of our grove. Wave action off a detached break wall is something that needs to be studied. Lake levels can rise and fall quickly. The high water of '98 was followed by the low water of the year 2000. Here's a May 2000 article noting that ore carriers cannot carry full loads because the lake is too shallow. Thank you so much for letting me share this second half of my presentation. Time limits require me to stop now, unfortunately. See you at Linwood. Bye.